So, good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining me here in The Good Life. I am Steve, and life is good. So, I want to talk to you today about my primary three reasons for leaving the U.S. to retire here in the Dominican Republic. Now, I think the last time I looked at it, somewhere in the neighborhood of around 9 million people have retired or are living outside of the U.S. Many of them retired. Some are raising families, some still single and just searching the world for, I don't know, more adventure. But a good number of us are retiring outside of the U.S., and I think many of us are doing so for some of the same reasons. I had many reasons for wanting to retire outside of the U.S., but three of them were non-negotiables, and we all have our own non-negotiables. Some things we can kind of do without. They're sort of the nice to have kind of things, but there are other things that, well, we just don't want to give up. And I believe that when you're doing something like that, you have to keep the list short because otherwise you'll never make a decision. And listen, moving outside of the U.S. where I had lived all my life, I mean, I traveled some, but I lived there all of my life, and doing so is not an easy thing to do. I'm not going to gloss over the decision, the difficult decision to have to pick up and move away from where you've lived all of your life, a place that you're familiar with, a place that you love, a place that you've enjoyed, where your family and children are. But at the end of the day, and especially now that I've begun to settle in here, it seems that it is the right thing to have done. So my three reasons for moving, we won't go into all the others, otherwise it'll be a 3-hour video. But the first one is the cost of living. Now, there are different parts to the cost of living, but I won't get into all of them. But the first one I want to talk to you about is affordable housing. Now, I don't know if I'll actually buy a home here. I look at condos and houses and that kind of thing, and I've not made up my decision about that yet. So right now, I'm still renting, and what I have right now is a 3-bedroom. Don't ask me why I chose a 3-bedroom apartment, but I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, brand new building. This entire complex is new, and people are just beginning to move in here. It was pretty much empty when I arrived, almost all empty when I arrived, but the cost here is a fraction of what I was paying back in the U.S. As a matter of fact, what I'm paying here for rent each month is about equivalent to what I was paying in 1989, 1990, living in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, I've rolled back the clock some 30 years on just that cost alone. Other things, well, I can visit beach towns. I can go to the mountains. I can go out to urban cities because I'm in Santiago. So there are malls and shops and, restaurants and movie theaters and that kind of thing. I'm not a club guy, so, I'm sure the younger people go out and do that, but I care not to be out in the clubs in 2 or 3 o'clock in the mornings. But, they do that and that's their thing. And perhaps that's what they should be doing. But I found a way to downsize many things while upgrading others at a cost-effective rate. And with that as a non-negotiable, well, I think I've crossed that hurdle. And I've done so relatively easily. The second thing, now this is not something, well, before I get to the second thing, let me look at something else here, because there's more to cost of living than just putting a roof over your head. You got to eat every day. And in doing so, I can go to the grocery store and be surprised almost every time I get to the checkout counter. I mean, if you look at the number of pesos, okay, it's a pretty big number, but there's 60 pesos to $1 now. The exchange rate is well, it works in my favor. Now, I'm not here trying to gentrify the place. I'm here to blend in with the place. And so I don't always go to the fanciest grocery store, because there are several that I visit, but I visit different grocery stores for different reasons. If I want produce, I go to Supermercado Nacional. If I want other things, I can go to La Serena or just some of the others. Transportation is more than affordable. I use Uber. Well, I bought a car recently, and it's sitting right down there. But I bought a car recently because I want to have a little bit more autonomy. But if you want to take Uber, I can take Uber to the other side of town for $3 or $4. In Atlanta, that will cost me, I don't know, $20, $30. I had my own vehicle in the U.S. So I don't know what Uber would cost to go 5, 6, 7 miles because it's not a really big city. You know, the topography or the geography is just not that big. Um, but it has everything that I need, and I can get there in an Uber for just a couple of dollars. When I would take Uber to the grocery store, it was like $1.50. You know, so I would pay double that to tip the guy, but that was always affordable to me. Let's see, maybe I would want to go dining out. And I don't eat out a lot. I prefer to eat in. I'm more of a homebody at this point in my life. But if I want to go to nice restaurants, I'm going to spend 10, 15 bucks, 20, 25 if I want to go a little bit more upscale, or if I just want to go to a local eatery and eat the way the locals do on a regular basis. It's like $4, $4 for an entree, perhaps like I don't know, beef or carne is what they. I think that's the Spanish word for it, carne. If I want beef or if I want chicken and rice and a salad, it's like, and then a soda or something to drink, whatever, usually Coke or Sprite. It's like $4. And I'm not eating fast food like burgers and fries and, things that are going to put the pounds on. So there again, life, it's like living rich for a lot less. Let's see, what else is there? Freedom and spontaneity. I can get up and go whenever I want because it's so affordable. I still have money left over from what I have as an income. I have money set aside, and when I was sitting in the States, I was thinking, well, I don't want to run out of money before I run out of time because like you, I and everyone else, or most everyone else, were able to put back something for our retirement. Maybe we're not rich. Maybe we don't have 5, 10, 20 million dollars, but we've got something. I think I read in a somewhere online that the average retiree in the U.S. has at retirement somewhere in the neighborhood of $300,000. And if that's what you have, fine. If you have less than that, that's okay too. If you got more, great. It doesn't matter. But what I would say to you is that if you have somewhere in the neighborhood of $250,000, $300,000, that's probably not enough to retire on in the U.S. It just isn't, because we would find ourselves nibbling on that finite amount of money almost every month. And if you just have one or two catastrophic illnesses or setbacks or emergencies in your life, it can completely wipe that out. And then it's all gone. Well, here, I don't have that problem. Why? Because I am living on less than my Social Security income. So everything that I have put away, I can add to it rather than subtracting from it. So I'm throwing another log on the fire every month because my expenses are much less than my income. Now, I know for some people that sounds kind of crazy, but that's just the way it is down here. Got some things I'm playing with here. And by the way, let me enjoy my coffee while I'm talking to you guys because it's good in the morning. Black coffee. I never thought I'd be drinking black coffee. I always added cream and sugar, but since I've gotten here, I've been drinking black coffee, and I just add a little bit of honey to it to sort of take the bite off to satisfy my insatiable sweet tooth. Not a lot of honey. Okay, no sugar, just honey. Black coffee. You should try it. And by the way, coffee actually is a healthy drink when you don't add all of those other things to it, the sugars, the creams, and all the stuff that you'll add to it at a place like Starbucks or someplace like that, or maybe you're doing that at your home. But drinking black coffee is actually a healthy drink. So just a word to the wise, that was for somebody. Now, here's something that, as a retiree, because as we get older, let's be honest, our things are going to change within our bodies, right? Oh, I look at that. I got a wrinkled shirt on. Oh, well, I'm retired. It doesn't matter. And I'm in the DR. Nobody really cares. Nobody's flexing down here. Nobody's worried about what you're wearing. So, whether you're wearing Gucci or Prada, Fendi, or whatever else is popular out there, I don't know, but nobody cares. But one thing I do care about, and that's healthcare. That's a non-negotiable, because if you know anything about me, I've had a little a health scare here or there in my recent life. For most of my life I was as healthy as a horse, never had anything to go wrong. But about five years or so, had a couple, had a serious incident that occurred. We'll talk about that later. But at this point, I don't think that I should be. I don't think that I should negotiate that away. I don't think that I should take that for granted. And so when I chose this place, what I found is that when I looked at the hospitals and the clinics, that they had modern equipment, and the specialists are trained in the U.S. and Canada and in Europe. Many of them speak English so that I can communicate with them, and it's just it was a pleasurable experience visiting the doctor's office. And here's the thing: it's affordable. You know, in the U.S., people are afraid to go and receive health care because they just don't know that they can afford it. Feeling a breeze right now. The breeze here in the Dominican Republic, it's just like a constant friend. It's always here to remind me that I'm in a great place, and it just comes by and sort of cools things down, and it's feeling pretty good right now. But the healthcare here, I was referred to a doctor by a friend, and the doctor, spoke a little bit. She spoke pretty good English. We were able to communicate quite well. She asked me for, what medications I'm on. She asked me questions about my past health. I gave her my files from the hospital that, from where I visited. Because if you're in the U.S., you have the app on your phone where you can download all of your medical records. So I just shared that with her. Right there in her office, she began to do things that you would normally have to make additional appointments at one place or another to get done. On the spot, she did an EKG right there. And she went ahead and pulled all that up. She said, okay, your heart's fine, everything's good. She said, are you diabetic? She asked me. I said, I think so, maybe. She went ahead and checked my blood glucose. At that point, it was 94. She said, oh, you're not diabetic. Who told you that? I'm like, my doctor did. She said, well, here's the result, right? But it was a pleasurable experience. And here's the thing. With no insurance, my cost to visit her was less than my copay had I gone to the doctor back in the States. I'm not kidding. It was less than my copay. With no insurance, I was actually amazed at how efficient she was. And then she said, well, just to make sure, because you're new here, I want to go ahead and have some tests done. I said, okay, well, what do you want me to do? She said, I want you to go and get blood work done, do a urinalysis. I want you to, because she was like pressing on my belly. You know how doctors do that? I don't know what they're feeling for, but she pressed one time and I kind of went. So she said, I want you to get a sonogram, and I want you to get a chest x-ray because you've had heart surgery. So I just want to take a look and make sure everything's all right. Okay. The very next day, I'm able to go to a facility right here in Santiago, right here in like kind of downtown Santiago. Walk right in, no appointment at all. Check in, and they say, okay, go to the second floor, go there, do a couple things, go to the third floor, do a couple things, okay, go right back here and get your chest x-ray done. I'm out of there. And it was like $60. I had blood work done where they checked my blood glucose. It was 110 then, so I need to work on that. What else did they do? They checked they checked PSA level, a bunch of other stuff. I mean, the full what do they call the full panel of blood work. They did the urinalysis, they did the ultrasound, and they did the chest X-ray for $60. No insurance, no appointment. If I was in the U.S. and I need to get all those things done, it'd take me at least a week to get all of those things done because I'd have to go from one place to another and then another. Maybe let's see, at the hospital or at the doctor's office next to the hospital, the lab's there, so they would do the blood test. But I would have to go one to another place, to an imaging place, to get the ultrasound done. Then I'd have to go someplace else to get the chest x-ray done. And that might take a week, at least a week. And then I'd have to wait for them to send all the results back to the doctor or make another appointment and then go back to the doctor and pay more money. And pay money at all of those different places where I'm getting these things done. When I got done, they gave me a QR code, and they said at about 5 o'clock this evening, use this code, and all of your results will be there. Everything was there. The full blood panel, the imaging for my belly thing that she took. And there was nothing there. I was just probably had gas, right? But the results for that was there. The chest X-ray was there, and it was all there for me. And then I just send it over WhatsApp to the doctor. She examines it and says, okay, yada, yada, yada. That's it. I don't need to go into her to see anything. We're just communicating over WhatsApp about my medical experience and what I'm going through. it's it's amazing. That's just amazing. The convenience. They just they just they just they just dumb it all down and say, listen, this is all you need to do, and why make this more complicated? So we have a cost of living that's affordable, that's feasible, where I can live on less than my Social Security. Actually, I'm taking part of my Social Security and adding it to my already savings account that I have put away for myself. I have health care that I can trust. As a matter of fact, where I live right now, there's a hospital called Holmes Hospital. I can walk there. I can walk there in like 10, 15 minutes, right? Holmes Hospital is the #1 rated hospital in all of the Caribbean. As a matter of fact, people come here from all over the Caribbean islands, from Central and South America, and yes, they even come here from the United States and Canada to receive health treatment at affordable rates, get quality health care, see specialists who are trained in the U.S., Canada, and in Europe. Can you beat that? I don't know. If you can, I'd love to hear about it. But this is my experience. This is what I am experiencing here in the Dominican Republic. I don't care about what people say about, well, guys go there to chase women, blah, blah, blah. I don't care about all that, because that doesn't have anything to do with how I live. Boy, this shirt is wrinkled. Boy, I need to buy an iron. But nobody cares in the Dominican Republic, right? Now, my final reason for moving here to the U.S., so we're leaving the U.S. and moving here to the Dominican Republic, I think is, yeah, it's for a quiet, peaceful way of life, a much more peaceful way than I had in the U.S. Now, I am from Atlanta, Georgia, and if you know anything about Atlanta, it's a big, vibrant, beautiful city. Listen, it's an amazing place to live. There are so many things to do, but after 5 or 6 decades, it becomes not as much excitement as it is more of just an exhausting experience. You do something for 4, 5, 6 decades. I think you've done enough. And listen, how daily life here is in the Dominican Republic, not having to concern myself with the hustle and bustle, to exit all of that. No more annoying emails from the job or whatever. And even after I was leaving work, I was still getting stuff from there, and I just said, listen, guys, I'm out of that. I'm done with that. No more emails, no more conference calls, no more. Well, the traffic here can be a little crazy, so I do sort of miss driving in the crazy Atlanta traffic. As bad as it is, it's nuts over here, but I'm not in it every day, so it doesn't matter. I didn't start my car at all yesterday, and that was Saturday. It's Sunday, and I haven't started my car today. I'll probably go to the grocery store, but it's a slower way, you know. You know how you go from like hip hop or R&B or rock and roll, and you kind of slow it down to a nice, peaceful instrumental jazz tune, and things you move a little bit slower. Well, that's where I am here. I live in a community where people connect. I mean, there are people here who will walk up to you and talk to you. If you have a question, people will stop what they're doing and they will just flat out help you from beginning to end, from inception and conception to all the way to the end, until you finish what it is that you were trying to do. I remember I needed something, and this just occurs to me, something as simple as a keychain, right? I'm at one of the, I visit three grocery stores here for different reasons, but I was at the one called El Encanto, I think is how it's pronounced, and I just needed a keychain, but I couldn't figure out where they were in the store. And so I'm in the cosmetics area at the time, and I asked the girl, and she just said, oh, she dropped what she's doing. She didn't go, it's over there. She said, come. And we went all the way to the other store. She knelt down and got down and started grabbing different keychains. Do you like this one? Do you like that one? It's not her job. It's not her department. She's not getting paid for it. She's just helpful. It's just that way here. Where I am here, if I have something that needs to be done here in the unit where I am, The guys are all too happy. Oh, is everything okay? I'll come now to take care of this. I'll come now to take care of that. They're not looking for anything. They're just helpful. They're just kinder. Something something I think we've lacked back there in the United States. But yes, it is slower here. Like I say, from going up to the beach, and the beach is just an hour and a half drive for me, right up the interstate. It's a straight shot. Well, I make maybe a couple of turns, and once I get on the main road, it's just a straight shot all the way up to Sosua and Puerto Plata. And I'll give you some shots of that. But a quiet day at the beach is just an hour or so drive from here. Or if I want to go to the mountains, not even as far. Or, maybe I just want some, I don't know, lush landscapes or just a walk here in the neighborhood. But life is just slower. It's living in nature without having all the hustle and bustle that I was experiencing in the U.S. Now it is morning here, and the city's beginning to wake up. And I don't know if you can hear that motorcycle in the background, and the little horn, the little beep beep from the horn. I think I think the people here have a love affair with the horns on their motorcycles and their cars, because they're blowing the horn. I think sometimes just to say hello to one another, but that is amazing. But like I said, I think somewhere in the neighborhood of 9 million people have chosen to live outside of the U.S. And while they all have different reasons for doing so, I think there's some overlapping of the reasons why we are moving outside of the U.S. When I say peace of mind is my third reason, I think of all of the things, or some of the things that are happening in the U.S. right now. All of the strife and the division, that just doesn't happen here. People fighting over sexual preferences, or over religion, or political ideologies. It's just one thing after another. It is as if we're not fighting, we're not living there, and it's just unnecessary. But nobody is interested in that here. People are just concerned with the daily living, family, having fun. When I talk about family, in the evenings, when people are getting off work, 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock, and the sun is setting down, it's the dusk part of the evening, you hear children outside playing, and the adults are out there with them. That's not something that I saw very much living in Atlanta. In Atlanta, everybody, when they get off work, they go into their homes. You pull in your driveway and into your garage. The door goes down behind you before you get out of the car, and you're inside of your home, and people hardly ever come out, with the exception to maybe walk the dog or to check the mail, and they're right back inside. And the children are playing inside of the house. I was talking to someone here who had just visited the U.S., and they said the thing about the U.S. is everybody stays inside. And these people, they visited relatives in, I think, New York or New Jersey. And so it's no different there than it is, I guess, where I lived in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. Everybody just stays inside. But here, everyone's outside. Everyone's breathing the air, not air-conditioned air, but the natural air. Everyone's experiencing life outside. We are outside. We are outside living a quiet, more peaceful life. One where life is affordable, and we're not concerned about whether or not we're going to run out of money before we run out of time. Life where we can receive proper health care, quality health care, to extend our time here on this planet, and not have to worry about whether we're going to an old sawbones or a witch doctor. But no, we're seeing medical professionals who are trained right there in the U.S., people we can talk to because they speak English, in facilities that are modern and many times brand new. A place where we can enjoy life at a slower pace. No more concerned with the hustle and bustle of big city life, but living in tranquility, or tranquilo as they called it here. And we live this way, why? And we choose this way, why? Because as we are fearfully and wonderfully made creatures, we know that we have only one time, just one time, to come this way, to live this life. So how about we do this? How about we make it a good one? Thanks for joining me. Until next time.